Shalom to the greater Chabad of Bethesda community and to our friends all over the world. I want to share a few thoughts, my experience, in which I'm sure I'm not alone in, as we ended the final moments of Pesach on a great sense of joy and well-being, spiritual high, only to find out and to have that serenity shattered by the terrible news that came out of Poway, California, at a Chabad Center similar to our own, where people were gathering to celebrate as we did the joy of our heritage and camaraderie and brotherhood, and were targeted by senseless hate, by twisted malice, and where a terrible tragedy of violence and death was perpetrated. This coming on the heels 6 months to the day of the shooting in Pittsburgh, the bombing and shootings at other houses of worship, most recently before Pesach of the beating of the Chabad rabbi in Rebbetzin in Kenya. The feeling that one has is obviously one of profound sadness, not just for the loss of life of this very special soul, Lori Gilbert Kay, who lost her life in the protection of others, and the wounding of 3 others, including the rabbi, mentor, and a friend, and very possibly a sense of despair. How is it that this is happening again? How is it that in our world, in our society, where there is so much good and there's so much bounty, there can also be this much senseless hate, this disregard for life? And this could very quickly lead to a sense of cynicism, of distrust, a look at our society as a failure and as our fellow person in the worst possible light. But I implore you, as we turn to the community in Poway with our support and with our wishes and with our deepest prayers, we should also look at them for incredible inspiration and strength. To look at Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein, who after being wounded grievously chose not to go to the hospital, but to address his congregation with words of comfort, of consolation, of strength. To the community of Chabad of Poway themselves, who hours after this terrible tragedy got back together for the scheduled Sudat Mashiach, the Feast of Mashiach, to sit with each other and to find healing and hope and light. So too we have to choose that this should be our response. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, our guide and leader, instructed us always that when facing darkness, we do not fight it with clenched fists and with anger, but rather with good deeds and with light. And that when facing hatred, we do not fight it with cynicism and distrust, but rather with love and real kindness. We are currently counting the Sphira from the days of Pesach till Shavuot, 49 days in which we target every single one of our character traits in specific, and we work on refining it. It is no surprise that the Sphira that we counted last night as this news was breaking to all of us was the 8th day of Sphira, in which we specifically work on refining the character trait of Chesed Shebigvura, kindness within strength. This is exactly what this moment calls for. To be strong, to draw on an inner well of kindness, to look at our fellows, not with a sense of blaming or distrust, cynicism to our society, but how is it that I can reach out to a fellow with love and with education, with light, so that a 19-year-old should not be so misguided, should not have his mind and his heart filled with darkness, but rather have his heart and mind filled with love and light. I also would like to take this moment to recognize that we at Chabad of Bethesda must do our part to make sure that every single person who comes through our doors feels nothing but the uttermost sense of security and safety. And that we will fulfill our promise and our commitment to every precious soul that comes to our spiritual home, that we will protect them. And so therefore I ask you, we will be sitting with and convening a meeting to discuss what elements of security we need to add to our Chabad Center, and we will begin then a campaign to raise the funds to be able to do so. I ask of you to support this effort, and more importantly, as you do so, to include a mitzvah that you will take on, a mitzvah oriented to bringing love and care into the world to a fellow person. Include that in your pledge so that we are truly, truly responding to this terrible act of hatred, this single act of hatred, with a myriad of acts of positivity and good. May we very speedily merit the coming of Mashiach, and with it, a sense of light, peace, and well-being throughout the world, from now and for all eternity. Shalom.